أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his beloved book, and hold fast all together to the rope of Allah, and be not divided among yourselves. Ramadan is a month of worship, a month of growth, and a month where we all come together as a community. During this uncertain and stressful time, our centers may be empty, but our hearts are full. We are still connected as a community through our memories, our prayers, and our bond as brothers and sisters. This Ramadan, while we worship at home, let us continue to support the growth of our community center, MCMC. Now, more than ever, our institution needs us. It is time to come together. Support your masjid. Donate today.
Social distancing will change significantly how Muslims observe the holy month. Shut down mosques mean the faithful will no longer be able to gather together to engage in nightly prayer and to break fast at sunset. Those that rely on the food they receive at the mosque to break fast will also suffer.
Heading into work today, and it just hit me. I miss you. MCMC to me has always been my home away from home. It's the place where my love of Islam grew. It's the place that when I was at Rutgers and there was stress of work and stress of school, I could always rely on MCMC to be that place to give me a sense of peace, a sense of sukoon. And so with Ramadan coming in just a few days, it's hitting me that I miss my community more than ever. The iftars, the tarawih, the jummas, the lectures. Ramadan is a reminder of what community means, and MCMC has been the setting of that for so many reasons. So I was thinking, why shouldn't that still be the case? Why can't we make this the best Ramadan yet? Go to mcmcnj.org to learn how we'll do it. Every day, a reminder of what we stand for and an adhan to break our fast with, live on YouTube and Facebook. This Ramadan, let's have iftar together.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ka'udu bi Rabbin Nas, Malikin Nas, Ilahin Nas, min sharri waswasil khannas, allazi waswasithu fi sudurin nas, min al-jinnati wan nas.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will start, inshallah, with what the brother spoke about yesterday. Brother Yusuf, he in the beginning of his presentation had mentioned about the state of the Quraysh in Mecca, and the condition of Mecca and the people, and that it was the beginning of the dawah of Islam. And before, as he mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ was doing dawah for in private, and then this is like the beginning of the public dawah, the beginning of Islam in terms of people converting and accepting Islam. So and this, inshallah. All right. So I want you guys to kind of think about imagine leaving your home and your family and your friends. Imagine going to a place where you didn't understand the language and the culture, especially actually a lot of our parents or their parents, if we're the second or third generation in this country, in the United States, our parents or our grandparents or their parents might have felt what a lot of the people at the time felt, but it was a lot more dire in terms of what was happening to them, because they weren't allowed to practice their deen. They weren't allowed to freely pray and accept the good news of Islam the way that they wanted to. So imagine being in that state. Now imagine not having a choice but to leave. So there are a few recent scenarios that have happened where stuff that's happening in Syria, and stuff that's happening in Palestine, and in a lot of countries right now, in Jordan. Like, so what are those people called today? Like people who don't have a choice but to leave their home. And I'm going to give you guys just a slight moment to see who's going to answer to me of what that term is, of people leaving their family, their homes, their land to another place who they don't know the language, they don't know the people, they don't know anyone or anything besides just care for their safety. So if you guys can take a moment to think about those people are, and they actually exist in our community right now. So let's see if somebody writes an answer. Okay. Well, if you wrote that these people are refugees, refugees are very it's unfortunate what's happened to them, but it's our task and our responsibility to take care of them. And yeah, other Miss from Suleiman said that there are refugees. Great job, Suleiman. And yeah, so good job. All right, so I'm gonna elaborate a little bit about in the mindset of what those refugees today are feeling. But this is, I would say, it was a terrible state of people, of what they were going through. And this is the migration to Abyssinia, which is in Arabic, the Prophet ﷺ in the narration referred as Al-Habasha, which is modern day Ethiopia in Africa. So and this started to happen because of the Quraysh. As the Quraysh were openly attacking, openly discriminating against Muslims, openly feeling like, this is this is our land, this is our people. And the Prophet ﷺ is Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he's just preaching this and kind of dividing us and and bringing this new religion into our land. So, and they started to spread fear. They started to torture the first believers. And the believers bore a lot of difficulties, but it reached an extent of where it was crossing all boundaries, all limits, and alhamdulillah, the Prophet ﷺ decided to look for alternative measures for them. That he gave some of the companions and some of the group of people, the first believers there, he suggested to them to go to Abyssinia, which is Ethiopia, where there is a Christian king, and he is a just king. He is a king that does not oppress anyone. Even though he was a Christian king, he did not interfere with other people's religion and did not interfere with their way of worshiping. He was known to be practicing justice, and Prophet ﷺ said to the people, the first believers, that he would allow you to worship without interfering, and your religion would not matter, and you should go to Abyssinia. So the preparations began for some of the people who could afford to make this migration. Again, at the time, if you weren't financially stable, you didn't have any sort of security. So you had to remain in Mecca. If you decided to become a Muslim and accept Islam, there was a lot that was happening, a lot of torture that you were going through, and that you had to renounce Islam or renounce the fact that you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you believe the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and believe in his religion. So they would have to renounce it to basically live in Mecca. So the people who had the luxury to migrate were people with goods, people who could afford to make this migration. Again, this migration occurred around the time of Rajab, which is the 5th year of Dawah, and this was a very scary decision for people, just like how it would be a scary decision for anybody today. It was extremely scary back then because, yes, alhamdulillah, they had decided to accept Islam, but there was something that they had, for generations and generations, which was family, their customs, their wealth, going to a country that do not understand how you speak, or you don't understand how they speak. And there was no Arabic language in Ethiopia at the time at all. And there are various narration about the exact number of people that migrated. So it was between 12 and 15 people, a group of men and women. And they were all noble men and women of the Quraysh at the time, who had the first believers who accepted Islam. And so this is a little map to give you a visual idea of the extent of the sacrifice these first believers made with anything and everything they had from Mecca, which is this point right here, to Ethiopia here. And this, some traveled by foot, some traveled by camel, but just the journey, subhanallah, it's amazing. It's amazing that these first believers did for Islam. And now, once these people have reached Ethiopia, Abyssinia, and they are finally feeling safe, they're enjoying their freedom, they are able to pray openly, they are able to practice, and they don't have to denounce that, or kind of turn away from the fact that they're Muslim. They don't have to be afraid of being Muslim. So feeling that joy, they were happy. However, this group of Muslims returned back to Mecca in 3 months later. And now you would wonder, why would anybody return back to torture, back to being abused, back to a place where they left and sacrificed so much to leave? Why would they go back? Now, it is because that they started to hear rumors that the persecution had stopped, that the Quraysh did not persecute the Muslims anymore. And that was not true at all. As they decided to come back to Abyssinia after staying there for 2 weeks. And now imagine the extent of that hardship as well, because first you drop everything from your homeland, go to a completely unknown and foreign country. You finally feel at home there and accepted at an extent there. Now you hear that back home, where you're originally from, you're safe to go, and you find out that it's not. That feeling, what they felt was probably very, very sad, and they felt very betrayed. They felt alone in this. But then again, beyond all this, subhanAllah, what got them going was their iman, their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the word spread amongst the Muslims when in this transition in Mecca, that Abyssinia is very peaceful. There's no persecution there. And when that rumor had hit Mecca, which is the true part of that in Abyssinia, Muslims were not being persecuted for believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a large population of Mecca who had become Muslim, who had accepted Islam, chose and decided and figured out a way to migrate to Abyssinia as well. So, and that was actually affecting the Quraysh a lot, because they're a very powerful Arab tribe, and they felt threatened. They felt threatened that all of our people are leaving. So now obviously, since they are so powerful, they decided that they were going to kind of whatever they needed to do to convince the king, who is the just king, his name, his title, Najashi. They decided that we were going to come up with something, and we're going to try to get our people back here, so we can do whatever we need to do with them, which is basically, persecute them, torture them, but we need them back here, so we need to create fear in our people so they don't leave. So what happened was Jafar ibn Abu Talib, who is the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, was assigned to lead the new group of people who had decided to go to Abyssinia. And he was appointed by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The Quraysh obviously were extremely, extremely furious, and they sent their own ambassador, Amr ibn As, to address Najashi directly as an ambassador, a representative basically for the Quraysh. And then when the Amr ibn As got there, he said to them that all these people that you have allowed into your land are people that are mischief creators. Basically, they're troublemakers. Why would you want to keep them here? And give them back to us, and we will give you all these goods. The Quraysh had given them like all this rich leather, this amazing gifts, valuable things in exchange for giving back their people. And basically, Amr ibn As, before he can get to Najashi, he said these things to Najashi's little, his ambassadors, basically the ministers, because this king was a Christian king. So his ministers. And so they thought, okay, I think we should bring this to our king and he can decide because Amr ibn As makes sense. We don't really need these troublemakers here. We can take their goods and everything's going to be great. So Najashi asked Jafar ibn Abu Talib to come to his court to explain what his side of the story was. And basically, like, okay, what are you guys actual troublemakers? What are you guys doing here? If people are willing to give so much, like, valuable things in exchange of you, you must be valuable people as well. So he wanted to investigate further and asked Jafar, who was actually the representative of the Muslims, of the Sahabas. Basically, and Sahabas are the first believers during the Prophet's time, so that's why I referred to it as Sahabas. And Muhammad Sallallahu had told Jafar to be truthful, to be honest. If you are questioned, always be honest. And so Jafar was honest about his story, that we are being persecuted, our people are not allowed to practice, and Amr, he is one of the people of the Quraysh who actually persecute us. And so when the king addressed Amr ibn As bowed to the king. However, Jafar stood straight up, and the ministers around the king were upset that how rude is this guy? And Jafar then, by his action, kind of gave da'wah, subhanAllah, that he said that I don't bow down to anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I used to be one of those people who was, an idol worshiper. I used to break ties with my family. I used to treat my neighbors bad. I did whatever I needed to do because, I didn't have Islam. I didn't have, this deen to perfect my actions, basically, or guide my actions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a messenger to our people, and alhamdulillah, they had accepted Islam. And that's why our people are practicing, and we're not allowed to practice in our land. And the Quraysh are torturing us, punishing us, trying to force us to do evil things. And so we left. And we are here to seek for your help. And we know that you are a just king, so you will allow us to stay. So basically, the king was very impressed. He asked Jafar to share the revelation, or what the messenger had said to him, to get him, basically entice them to convert or become Muslims. And just Jafar recited a few ayahs from Surah Maryam. Even though the Najashi was a Ethiopian, Abyssinian, he didn't understand Arabic, but without understanding what it meant, the court were all moved. They were emotional, and they were in tears. And the king said that this message of because of Surah Maryam, the ayahs that that Jafar had recited were asked to be translated, that the message of Moses and Jesus came from the same fountain. Najashi then went to Amr ibn As and said, leave my court, and that these Muslims will not return to him, that he will not do injustice to these people who seem truthful and honest to me. Amr ibn As returned in the court, at the court of Najashi, and he told the king, because he wanted to try, he didn't want to fail and go back to the Quraysh and be in trouble with other leaders. So he wanted to keep trying, and told Najashi that, hey, these people that you want to keep, they're actually making fun of your religion. You should ask them what they have to say about Jesus, the God you worship. And then the king, then Najashi calls Jafar back to his court and demands that, what do you have to say about Jesus? Then from from the what happened with Jafar was then he had said, we will say exactly what the Prophet ﷺ told us, which is the truth. And he explains to the king that our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that Jesus alayhi salam is the slave and the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who gave him Maryam and the innocent and chaste, and he was a righteous prophet. The king, and then so the king was impressed because of the belief of in Christianity. Also, it progressed over time from where it is now. But in front of him, he picked up this little twig, this little branch, and he said to Jafar that what you say does not exceed what Jesus said by this branch. So a tiny bit. So it was like a thin bit. So he believed in what Jafar was saying, and he told him that take your gifts back. I don't need this. I'm going to keep these people. So the people of the first believers, the people that had seeked refuge in Najashi's land were welcomed, and they enjoyed the hospitality of Najashi for about 14 years, which is 7 years after the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to Medina. And so he had the Prophet ﷺ had invited Najashi to Islam, and subhanallah, Najashi wrote back to the Prophet ﷺ that he had become Muslim. And a few years after, the Prophet ﷺ came out in a gathering and said that Jibreel had come to him saying that a pious brother of mine had passed away. And subhanallah, look at the stance of this just king, Najashi, and the place of him in Islam as well. And that because he gave, he welcomed these non-Muslims, these people who he didn't know, he welcomed a new religion as well. And so, yeah, it was a sanctuary at last for the Muslims. And basically, what I learned from this story is that to be just, to stick to the right way, to understand that just because someone may bribe or entice you for some nicer things or nicer, materialistic things, it's still not okay to do the wrong thing. It's important to stick to what is right, what is just, be truthful, because truth always prevails, subhanallah. And another major thing is that if Najashi was not welcoming to these first believers, they probably would have been persecuted a lot sooner, and the history would be, and the story would be completely different for our deen. So subhanallah, because of Najashis or these Ethiopians at the time welcoming these new Muslims, it created and led beautiful stories of many other Muslims. So just remember to always be welcoming to all sorts of people, all different people, Muslims or non-Muslims. Especially nowadays, there are so many refugees that are seeking help from our nation and our community, and welcome those people in our community. If you have a classmate who is a refugee, or who doesn't speak your language, doesn't speak English, doesn't speak anything you understand, it's not even, you don't have anything in common, but it's okay. Both of you are human beings, and both of you are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created that person just the way they created you, so perfectly. It's important to be, and it's our responsibility to be kind, to be welcoming, because what we do and what our actions are can lead to somebody else's future. So it's really, really important to be nice, to be welcoming of all people. And inshallah, please ask your parents, your neighbors, your family members to donate to mcmcnj.org. They are bringing these beautiful, amazing programs for us in Ramadan. with everything going on. So please encourage your parents to do nice and good things as well, and have them donate, inshallah. And please, I would love to hear you guys recite. So please send a little clip or a little video of you reciting Quran or calling the adhan, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاح حي على الصلاح حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا